What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today, we're going to be talking about the Seattle Seahawks again and what they could do with the fifth overall pick. I'm doing this for a few reasons. Reason number one is because I'm a Seahawks fan and it's my channel, so I can essentially do what I want. But reason number two is that the Seahawks recently have finished going to the pro days of all the big time quarterbacks. They've taken selfies with Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. So clearly, there is some interest, or they want other teams to think that they have some interest in quarterbacks. So I'm going to talk about that, talk about some stuff like that, and then lastly, the last Seahawks video I made got a lot of views. It actually blew up. I think it's at like 1,500 views right now. So you guys seem to really like that one. So clearly, I have some Seahawk fans, subscribers out there. So big shout out to you guys. But yeah, I'm going to be making another Seahawks video. For those of you who don't know, I actually used to have a Seahawks specific podcast with my boy Sam. So shout out Sam. So I'm quite well versed with the Seahawks and I kind of know everything going on. But I just want to give my opinion on what their draft strategy could be, specifically at pick number 5. But before we get into this video, please make sure to subscribe and like the video and comment what your opinion on the Seahawks is down below, what you think they should do at number 5. I'll be getting to kind of some of my opinions, and if you agree or disagree, just let me know down below. All right, so starting off, the Seahawks have picked number 5. Thank you, to the Denver Broncos once again. What an absolute fleece that the Seahawks got in exchange for Russell Wilson. Um, but they got pick 5, and they're in a good position where they have some options at pick 5. I think one of the most popular opinions amongst Seahawks fans is to go with a quarterback, which would more likely be either Anthony Richardson or Will Levis, because we all know Bryce and CJ, they're going 1 and 2. They're not going to be available. So the top two quarterbacks left would be Richardson and Will Levis. I've also heard, to go defensive line, so you could talk about Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson, Jalen Carter has been brought up a lot, despite him, falling down some draft boards and everything like that. So very interesting to kind of see what we have there. But I think, the biggest thing for the Seattle Seahawks is what the Arizona Cardinals do at pick number 3. Um, the Cardinals, in my opinion, should trade down to a quarterback needy team, which then would mean that quarterbacks more than likely go 1, 2, 3, and 4, being Bryce, CJ, Will Levis, and Anthony Richardson. And then the Seahawks would have their pick of the best non quarterback in the draft. In that case, in a case where the Cardinals trade down and whoever goes into 3 takes a quarterback, Colts are taking quarterback. We all know the Panthers and the Texans are taking a quarterback. If the Seahawks are at 5 and they have everybody available, I would take Will Anderson. Will Anderson is, in my opinion, one of, if not the best players in this draft. He is a position of need for the Seahawks at edge rusher. He can rush the passer. He can play the run. Phenomenal player. He's a phenomenal player, and for us to get him at number 5 would be fantastic. Additionally, you could take a chance on Jalen Carter if, none of the teams in the top 4 do. You could take a chance on Jalen Carter, although the things that have been coming out are a bit concerning. He has, there was a thing with Dan Campbell this week that he said that he talked to one of his teammates from Georgia and found out something interesting, and he wouldn't elaborate, good, bad, ugly, whatever. So it's interesting. Will the Seahawks take a chance at Jalen Carter at 5? I would lean no because of John Schneider's emphasis on, taking high character guys. There have been, in the past they've taken a chance on some players with questionable character, and in certain instances it really blew up in their face. So at least from what John Schneider has said, he said that they're going to try to avoid that route and not take those risky players. So I wouldn't think Jalen Carter's the move at 5. And especially if he's dropping down draft boards, I don't think he's, going to be on the draft board at 5. Now, if he's still sitting there at number 20, that's when I would have some serious conversations, and that's when I would definitely want to take Jalen Carter, because at that point the talent is worth the risk. If you're a top 20 pick, right? Top 5 pick, it's kind of iffy. And I don't think he'll drop. I don't think he'll drop that far. I think the farthest he'll drop is probably number 9 to the Bears. But whatever. So Jalen Carter's out of the way. Love Will Anderson. Now, if the Cardinals stay put at number 3, my money would be on that they do take Will Anderson. Obviously, they're not going to take a quarterback with their financial commitment to Kyler, and I don't think that there is another player on the board more enticing than Will Anderson would be at number 3. So Will Anderson would be the move. Then that would have the Colts taking either Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. I have an inkling. I have an inkling that the Colts like Will Levis. Um, I just I don't know why. I just have that intuition, but I don't know. They could take Anthony Richardson. They could take Will Anderson. So let's say the Colts take one of those two guys. The Seahawks are now left with a few options. I think the best remaining option would be to take Tyree Wilson. The only quarterback I would want the Seahawks to take at 5 would be Anthony Richardson because I like the upside, and I think that's a perfect spot for him. Will Levis, I'm not very high on Will Levis, to be completely honest with you. Anthony Richardson, I understand his flawed prospect, but his ceiling is so high that if you can get the most out of him, you're getting an MVP caliber player. Not maybe not an MVP. You're getting a perennial All Pro type of player out of Anthony Richardson. Will Levis, I just don't know about Will Levis. So say Richardson goes 4, I think at 5 the Seahawks can go with Tyree Wilson, who is a good enough Will Anderson replacement if we don't get him at 5. Again, long arms, can rush the passer, plays the run very well, which is the problem with Seattle's defensive ends. Daryl Taylor is a decent pass rusher, but he can't play the run. And Uchenna Nwosu is again more of a pass rusher, but he does play the run a little bit better. And our run defense last year was atrocious. It was god awful. Josh Jacobs damn near had 300 yards against us running and ran like 80 yards to the house for the game winner. Um, it's bad. And especially going against a team in our division like the 49ers who specialize in running the ball and who have, that great zone run scheme and have Christian McCaffrey now run the ball. We need better run defense if we're going to go far. So I think if it isn't quarterback, it's got to be an emphasis on defensive line, front seven guy who can play well against the run. Will Anderson, Tyree Wilson both do that. Um, I've heard some people say we could go JSN or a receiver at number 9. I'm sorry, number 5. And I don't think any receiver in this class is worth a top 5 pick. Now, if we were a few years ago and Jamar Chase was there at 5, I would say yes. If, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Watt, whatever. But I don't think any of the receivers in this draft class are worth a top 5 pick, unfortunately. And receiver isn't a pressing issue of need. We have DK, who's obviously great, and Tyler Lockett's still, being one of the most underrated players in the NFL. I can see maybe corner to pair with Tariq Woolen if you really like Devon Witherspoon, or if you really like, Christian Gonzalez, or if you really, really like Joey Porter. I could see that, but maybe you can get one of those guys at number 20. So I think the big thing for Seattle is going to be defensive line. My money would be on Tyree Wilson or Will Anderson, depending on what the Cardinals do. But if Anthony Richardson's there at 5, I've heard very good things about the Seahawks and what they think about him. I think that they think very highly of him. He would not have to play right away. He could definitely sit a year, which is something that he needs. Anthony Richardson's not the type of guy you can throw the Wolves day one. Anthony Richardson would have to sit for a year plus, which with Geno under contract, that would be definitely something that the Seattle Seahawks can afford to do. So, in short, if he's there at 5, I could see the Seahawks taking Anthony Richardson. If Will Anderson's there at 5, I see that the Seahawks taking him. But my most likely outcome, not the most likely, but if neither of those two work out, Tyree Wilson's probably the move at 5. So let me know what you guys think down below. If my draft thought process is at all accurate, let me know what you think. Let me know who you want the Seahawks to take. I want to hear your guys' opinions, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Have a nice weekend. Peace out.